Hey everyone, Dave here talking about one of our more difficult topics, and that's what to do during a sudden financial transition. So the unimaginable happens. You lose unexpectedly a spouse or partner. They pass away, become mentally disabled, or there is a sudden divorce. And when this happens, let's go through some things to think about if you unexpectedly have to start managing your finances when you've never done it before. So initially, managing emotions is probably going to be a lot harder than the money stuff. At least it would be for me. And one of the things to keep in mind is there's pretty much nothing that needs to be perfect today, including how you're handling things. Often, when I'm undergoing a very stressful or emotional situation, I have to just say to myself, this is the best Dave Rowan that's available today. And sometimes that version isn't great, but this is what we have. And this is what we have as we're trying to put the pieces together here. Second is there's really no irreversible decisions in the next 6 to 12 months. It's okay to make wrong choices. We'll talk about a couple toward the end that are a little bit harder to reverse than others, but definitely there's nothing that's totally irreversible here. You can learn and adjust as you make your way through the process. And really, for the first 30 to 60 days, we're just going to keep it really simple. We want to make sure bills are paid, income sources are verified. We know we have money coming in the door. Let's get a cash reserve in place. And what there's going to be a lot of is decisions that get put in the I don't need to worry about this right now category while you're taking care of yourself. So let's plan on breaking this into pieces. Not everything needs to be done at once. We'll cover the first 3 phases, hopefully in the next 90 days or so. And then phase 4 is really all about what I'd call more traditional financial planning. And that can take a year or more. And again, there's no hurry on that. But decide what's reasonable for you, both in terms of the time that each of these takes and also what's reasonable as a goal. And I'm going to suggest some for these phases, the bill paying phase, converting cash flows, phase 2, and then phase 3 of understanding your money. So phase 1, let's make sure the bills are paid. And I'm getting as simple as possible here. One of the best things to do if you have the energy and if you haven't been used to dealing with incoming mail is deal with it every day, or at least every few days, rather than letting it pile up. Get rid of generic mailers, shred anything with your name and address, or at least peel your name and address off of things. And then start getting some folders ready to go to organize things. So if you do still receive any paper bills, you should have one folder for those. If it's a time of year that you're receiving tax correspondence, we should have a folder for that. And then a third folder, as you process the mail every day or a few times a week, anything that takes more than 5 minutes to address, stick it in there, and then hopefully you get to that at least once a week. If you do have manual bills to pay, consider doing that twice a month to get started. Make a note when big bills come in so you're not surprised by those and know what to expect in future months. Consider if your spouse didn't do this, maybe in the short term, you might consider tracking things in a checkbook register. You don't have to worry about balancing the checkbook, but just so you can, again, start to see the patterns of money coming in and out of your household. Definitely, if you struggle in this area, some people are systems people and some aren't. Enlist the help of an organized family member or a very trusted friend. You don't need to share account numbers or amounts or any of that stuff, but just explain, hey, here's what I'm trying to do. I want to get my arms around bill paying and how money moves in and out of my house. What kind of systems do you have in your house? And get their thoughts. And then finally, in terms of a goal for this phase, have a plan for nothing to do with money, but really what to do if you're personally feeling overwhelmed, whether that's calling a friend or a family member, going out and getting some exercise, going out and in nature alone and getting some fresh air. All of these things can be very powerful and ways to help you get through this time. Okay, phase 2. We want to confirm what sources of income are coming in. So that could be in the form of a paycheck if you're still working, Social Security, pensions. If you're taking RMDs, required minimum distributions, or your spouse was, those could be coming in. Child support, in the case of divorce, or insurance proceeds. One of the simplest things you can do to kind of get an idea of your cash flow and what it's looking like is just get your monthly bank statement, and is it increasing or decreasing or staying about the same? And that will give you a finger in the wind of what your cash flow situation is. But again, we can't look at that in, say, just in 1 month, but let's look at it over a minimum of 2 to 3 months to get a trend. Let's target having at least 3 to 6 months of cash on hand to cover unexpected expenses. And that's really what our goal is for this phase, to have a plan for a large unexpected expense. These happen. These are inevitable. They will be a surprise the first time couple times that they happen, but eventually become routine. We know that cars break, medical bills happen, taxes need paid. And so again, let's have that 3 to 6 months of cash on hand to cover those unexpected expenses. Phase 3, we're now getting into some higher order stuff, understanding your money. We want to know where it is and what the job of each account is. I had a very smart boss during my corporate days, and I was in product development. And when we were designing a new product, one of the first questions that she asked when we started talking about it is, what is the job of this product? What does it do for children? I worked at Crayola. What does it do for children? What does it do for moms or parents? What does it do for teachers? And similarly, we want to go through each of your accounts and ask, what is this doing? Is this to pay bills? Is this to save for retirement? Is this a separate tax account that I can pay taxes out of? Is this to save for my child's education? What are the jobs of all of these? And there may be cases where you can't define the job. I think I have that on the next slide. But one of the things that is not true of this phase is you do not need to, if any advisor tells you, they need, let's say you get a big insurance settlement and they say that the only condition that they'll work with you is if you park this in a big, expensive variable annuity with lots of fees, which, going back to my earlier point on, there's no wrong decisions, but there's some that are more painful than others. And that's certainly extracting yourself can be expensive from one of those, but you do not need to hand all of your money to an advisor at this stage. Many advisors will see you hourly to help you work through these things, or in some form of flat fee plan to help you get through these stages. So understanding your money, some more detail. You want to make a list of all of your accounts by institution. What bank is it in, or what brokerage is it in, the type, cash, brokerage, retirement, or other, and the amount. Again, try to assign a job for each of them. Hopefully you'll get most of them on your own. There may be some that you don't. Some accounts may seem to have the same job. You just want to note that at this stage. Some accounts, some of these complicated annuities or other things, I have a hard time understanding them. You might too. So you might not understand what some accounts are. There may be some that you do understand, but you don't know what its job is. Or finally, there may be missing accounts. You think of a job of, I really do need an account too, and then fill in the blank. And I don't see it here. So make notes of all of this. And again, at this stage, the plan really is either to complete this assignment, or if not, get help here if there's too many unknowns. Finally, phase 4, adjust and optimize. Consider consolidating accounts that have the same job. Add accounts if there's an unaddressed job, and then have a plan at this stage to see whether your current financial circumstances and choices meet your long-term needs and goals. This is a big one. We could talk for 10, 20, 30 minutes about everything that goes into this. This is the essence of financial planning. Again, this really is nothing to worry about within the first 90 to 120 days. This can take a year or more. But just setting the stage that really this highlighted item here is your ultimate goal to see if you're tracking and your long-term finances are in order. So the summary and our goals for each phase: month 1, nothing to do with money. Just have a plan for when you're feeling overwhelmed. That is your most important job, is taking care of yourself. Month 2, let's have a plan for a large unexpected expense. Month 3, have a plan to get help in understanding your money if there's too many unknowns. And then in the first year or 2, have a plan to link your current decisions to your long-term goals. So that is it for what to do when you experience a sudden financial transition. Like and follow if you'd like to see more from me. Take care.